Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back. Here once again, taking a look at what new upcoming games are on the horizon, this time for the month of December 2024. What's worth checking out? Well, let's take a look and try to find out. First up, we've got the game that I will probably spend this entire month playing. That is Path of Exile 2. Anticipation is at an all-time high. It's a fever pitch. I am super excited to dive into this one. And hey, who knows if the game is as good as everyone's making it out to be, maybe we end up rebranding the entire ARPG genre. We could just call all of these games Exile-likes or something. Anything's possible, right? All right, so last week we got a lot of information about the differences from early access to full release. So what can we expect from Path of Exile 2 in its early access form? Well, first up, they decided to pivot a few months ago from finishing the campaign to including a lot of their endgame features instead. So for early access, there's going to be 3 of the 6 available acts. And then once you complete it, you unlock the cruel difficulty, which will allow you to play through again with more difficult enemies in order to get to the PoE2 endgame systems. Now, planned for full release is going to be a 6-act campaign in which there are 100 distinct environments, 600 monsters, and over 100 entirely unique bosses, which is quite a lot. But for now, I think we're going to expect these numbers to be about cut in half, but still, it's going to be a lot of content from what we can tell. So other major key features of the game include, there's going to be 6 character classes with 2 ascendancies each. However, at the full release, it's going to be 12 with 3 ascendancies each, totaling for 36 classes combined. Now, the ascendancies in this game offer like unique new ways to play the baseline class. So for example, by default, a mercenary is built as like this high mobility class that uses a crossbow with different ammo types that do different things. But with the ascensions, the 2 that we know of so far include Witch Hunter, where you get extra defenses against magic, massive heavy hitting attacks that are strong against demons and undead. Or you could play as the Gemling Legionnaire, who has access to more skills than any other class in the game, as its whole mechanic is its ability to embed gems into its flesh. Speaking of which, PoE2 features a brand new skill gem system with 240 active skill gems and another 200 support gems to modify their behavior. And if you're not familiar, these gems, they're basically just like skills. They're gems that grant you skills. So you're looking at over 240 different skills to pick from. Path of Exile's infamously daunting, massive passive skill tree makes a return now with over 1,500 skills and dual specking available. There's going to be all new items with 700 equipment-based types, and every single one of those has its own unique to find. There's a new endgame after the campaign is finished. Endgame includes exploring new areas and different biomes, engaging in crafting, taking on challenging bosses and unique encounters. And as you progress, you're going to gain access to these special passive trees that can bump the difficulty, boosting the rewards and changing the way various endgame mechanics work. They've also made improvements between PoE 1 and 2. Combat is getting an overhaul, updating many of the game's animations, sounds, and reducing input latency, all of which should result in a better feeling game. And there's some new gameplay mechanics, like many crowd control abilities will now build up to stuns on bosses. There's a new resource called Spirit, specifically used for things like auras, armors, and minions. There's auto weapon swapping for different abilities, and way more skill modification and utility via the support gems. Now, monetization of Path of Exile 2 will follow the same formula as the original. The game is going to be $30 at early access with no pay to win or pay to power, but besides that, they are obviously going to be selling cosmetics, and yes, there will be convenience things for sale, maybe the most obvious ones being the stash tab space that you can buy. Now that said, UltraGear Games is doing the unheard of here and carrying on purchases between the 2 games. So if you bought cosmetics or stash tabs in PoE 1, however long ago it was, you'll have those unlocked in PoE 2. I say this every time, but it's like a massive W for the developer and also for us, the gamers. It's unheard of seeing a company carry cosmetic or convenience purchases between original and sequel or follow-up iterations of a game. Like, that's crazy. So hats off to them there. I will add, however, that Path of Exile 2 is going to be free to play when it's fully launching into 1.0, but the early access release, which is happening this month, that isn't fully free and actually will require a purchase of a supporter pack with the lowest entry fee running $30 US. But nonetheless, $30 is like a bargain for what may very well be the best ARPG we have ever seen. That is the current assumption anyway, and it's looking pretty good. We will find out soon, and once again, I cannot wait. Path of Exile 2 is launching into early access on December 6th for PlayStation and Xbox. Hey, no matter what games you're playing this month, it could all look better thanks to the sponsor of today's video. LG's latest UltraGear OLED dual mode gaming monitor, the 32GS95UV. This is a 32-inch monitor that boasts being the brightest OLED on the market with MLA Plus technology, along with having dual mode that lets you easily swap from running, say, 1080p at 480Hz to 4K 240Hz with a hotkey at the bottom of the screen. Now, I've been using LG's 32GS95UE myself over the past few weeks while playing games, and everything looks great on it. I love the high refresh rates, and the picture clarity has been fantastic. Some other specs of the monitor, though, include UltraGear OLED's near instantaneous 0.03 ms GTG response time. You've got smooth gaming thanks to reduced screen tearing and stuttering with both NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD FreeSync compatibility. So if you'd like to check out LG's latest gaming monitor, the 32GS95UV, it is going on sale for Black Friday with a 29% discount lasting until December 2nd. Learn more using the link in the video description below. All right, back into the list. Next up, we've got a game that's sort of like if you took Overwatch but filled it with Marvel characters instead. That's basically exactly what Marvel Rivals is, launching on December 6th. This is a team-based PvP third-person shooter. You will play as one of a large cast of Marvel heroes, able to combine powers with special team-up attacks while competing for objectives in destructible, ever-changing battlefields. And you know what? This actually doesn't look all that bad, to be honest. I don't know how much I'm into a team-based 6v6 shooter, but for what it is, it actually looks pretty decent. Some key features include a large roster of Marvel characters, because duh, right? You'll choose from nearly 30 different Marvel superheroes and villains from across the Avengers, Guardians, X-Men, and Marvel's other franchises. It's said to have fast-paced gameplay in the multiple 6v6 modes, which include moving the payload or point capture, all of which taking place on these detailed maps with changing game dynamics. One of the big standouts here is the environmental destruction. Many parts of every level can be smashed, blown up, and otherwise torn down, opening new sight lines or paths for you to take towards the objective or to get an advantage on the enemy team. From what I've seen, this level of destruction will be available in pretty much every map in the game, which is pretty neat. And then on top of that, there is this dynamic hero synergy thing as you coordinate combos between characters via team-up skills. The idea here is that certain pairs of heroes will unlock unique benefits, like Rocket can ride on the back of Groot, unlocking bonus damage for both of them, or Hulk can use his gamma energy to supercharge Iron Man's armor, and there are many, many more combinations between heroes to be discovered. They are already discussing planned post-launch updates, saying that each season will be adding new playable characters and maps. Marvel Rivals launches on December 6th, coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Reception to the previous beta tests were fairly positive from what I've heard, so we'll be interested to see what everyone thinks once this officially releases. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is an upcoming action-adventure game developed by Machine Games and published by Bethesda Softworks. Based on the Indiana Jones franchise, this will feature an original narrative that draws from the film series, set between the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This story will follow Indy as he attempts to find the Great Circle, which refers to this mysterious, these sites around the world that form a perfect circle when connected on a map. And as such, the game will span numerous real-world locations such as Rome, Thailand, Egypt, Shanghai, and the Himalayas. Now, this will be primarily played from a first-person perspective, with there being third-person employed for contextual elements like environmental interactions. You can use Indy's trademark whip to distract, disarm, and attack enemies, but the whip isn't just a weapon, it's also a valuable tool for navigation. You can use it to swing over unsuspecting patrols and scale walls as you move through levels. Combat will be a combination of stealth, melee, gunplay, and can either be engaged directly or circumvented entirely through the use of stealth. Now, from some early previews, we learned a few things that the game feels more adventure action than action adventure. There will be some shooting, but barely. Guns are loud, and using them alerts everyone in the area, so it's sort of a last resort. There is going to be a lot of puzzle solving and figuring things out based on environmental clues. I've heard that the game reminds people a lot of Thief. So in the first mission, for example, you're moving through the night, scaling buildings with a whip, distracting enemies with throwables, and taking out people silently. There's a lot of hidden items like keys and notes that are used to progress through the area and find secrets within it. You can pick up objects in the environment to use as weapons, like brooms, violins, or shovels to do stealth takedowns. There's also a shove button that lets you push people off ledges, along with a punch, the block, and the ability to use your whip as a melee weapon. You can pick up and hide bodies so they don't alert patrols either. There's going to be some kind of a skill system where you spend adventure points to acquire things, finding collectibles in the environment, or by taking pictures of locations later in the game. Honestly, this looks pretty good for what it is. It's probably quite a bit less action than I would personally prefer, but it certainly seems well made and polished from the gameplay that I've seen, so fingers crossed here. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is set to release for Windows and Xbox Series X and S on December 9th, with a PlayStation version set to come out at some point in 2025. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen comes out this month, which I actually can't believe. This is one of those early Kickstarter MMOs that's been in development for over a decade now. In that time, they've gone through a very few public setbacks, including some major overhauls to the game and the unfortunate passing of the studio's founder, Brad McQuaid, in 2019. Nevertheless, development has continued, and they are now ready for an early access release. So to put it simply, Pantheon is like the modern day reimagining of the old school EverQuest-inspired MMO genre. Primary focus here being on social interaction, where players have to work together to overcome various challenges, most of the challenges in the game. Doing so will promise plenty of rewards for your efforts. It takes place in a high fantasy seamless open world. You will explore across 3 continents. There are unique mechanics like perception, which will reveal hidden clues to secrets in the environment as you explore. There's actually some survival mechanics as well, with varying climate conditions and temperatures you'll have to combat. There's a day-night cycle with different enemies, areas, and dungeons only revealing themselves at the nighttime. You'll choose from 9 races and 14 classes, with the tried and true holy trinity of tank, healer, damage dealer, and support, holy quadrilogy. And yeah, as I mentioned, teamwork is a big emphasis. You have to work with players. You have to socialize. You have to group up to do pretty much anything to make any sort of real meaningful progress. The timing here is a little rough, given that it's coming out shortly after Path of Exile 2, but I do absolutely want to give this game a look. I have been keeping tabs on it from a distance over these past 10 years, and I'm just genuinely curious to see how it has all turned out. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen enters Steam Early Access on December 13th. Kingmakers, man, this game just looks like stupid good fun. This is a third-person sandbox game with action strategy elements. So you can switch between a third-person shooter mode and then a top-down strategy mode. So in shooter mode, you play using modern weaponry and vehicles like assault rifles, shotguns, grenade launchers, armored cars, and helicopters to fight against masses and hordes of medieval enemies. Then meanwhile, there's the strategy mode where you command an army of medieval units like cavalry, archers, and swordsmen. You can customize with different banners, colors, and formations. The game's going to feature a campaign that allows players to influence the outcome of the war and the history of England. They say here on a quote, "You'll be able to seamlessly switch between combat and issuing orders at any time. While the system is easy to learn and simple to use, the strategic possibilities are, quote, endless." So if you can tell, Kingmakers is set in medieval Great Britain, specifically 1400 AD. The player assumes the role of this elite task force operator who has been transported 500 years back in time to avert a future apocalypse, and then depending on your choices and what you do, you can either fight for England, Scotland, or Wales, and ultimately change the course of history with multiple possible endings. Each battle you engage with runs in a fully real-time simulation with thousands of soldiers fighting simultaneously, and you can play with other people. Up to 3 friends can lead their own armies alongside you and join in your conquest in online co-op. Yeah, it looks like just silly, dumb fun, frankly. Like, this is really, really cool. I will definitely spend at least a couple days playing this because I guarantee it's going to be a blast. Kingmakers is set to release sometime in December, although as of this recording, currently no exact date has been announced. I'm sure we'll find out very soon. All right, that is the bulk of the list. Let's go on to some of the honorable mentions. First up is Delta Force, a free-to-play tactical shooter that features 3 distinct modes. There's large-scale PvP, an intense extraction shooter, and the remake of a campaign, the legendary Black Hawk Down single player. So the game's got both, yes, single and multiplayer modes. These take place over 2 distinct time frames. So the large scale is actually 64 player, like Battlefield inspired multiplayer. There's 5 large scale maps with environmental destruction, multiple roles to fill, along with dozens of vehicles and weapons. They've got the extraction shooter. You will gear up and deploy in 3-person squads, moving through these maps, taking on AI controlled mercs, bosses, and the most dangerous rival squads of other players, all while trying to escape alive and keep your valuables. And they've got tons of weapon and vehicle customization in the game for all of its various modes. Really interested to see how this one turns out. It's like like 3 games in one. Delta Force launches on December 4th. Do you have any games that really stuck with you from childhood? I mean, of course you do. Now for me, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver was absolutely one of those games. I have vivid memories of exploring the world, fighting its creatively creepy inhabitants, and unveiling the mysteries of the vampire soul sucker thing, whatever these are. I don't exactly remember the plot. It's been a very long time. I just remember liking playing through the game. The point being, I was pleased to learn that they have a remaster coming, celebrating its 25th anniversary. Has it really been 25 years since I played? Holy crap. Okay. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver remasters are launching this month, letting you experience the series in either its original authentic form or with freshly remastered graphics, whatever you prefer. And this actually includes both games with Soul Reaver 1 and 2. Now, as a refresher, you play as this arisen vampire on a quest for revenge against your former master who killed you. What? You'll move through the world, slaying your former vampire brethren with claws, bolts of telekinetic energy, and this elemental wraith blade. And the most memorable for me of all was the realm shifting. Much of the game's world takes place in 2 identical but different forms. You will move between the spectral and material realms, with there being different iterations of each of the levels depending on the realm that you're in. In the process, you'll unlock the ability to solve puzzles, traverse to new areas, reveal new paths, and defeat certain foes that can only be attacked in one or the other realm. If nothing else, I hope this thing is successful and it spurs on the release of a new Soul Reaver game. I would love to see a continuation here. The Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver remaster will be launching on December 10th, coming to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. The Spirit of the Samurai is a rather interesting looking 2D action adventure side scroller where you play as a reanimated samurai attempting to protect his village from the onslaught of an encroaching Oni. You will fight an army of undead warriors and Japanese monsters as a human, as a kodama, and as a cat. Probably the most notable here, though, is the game's use of stop motion inspired visuals and animations. Just quite a unique look that I find really appealing. The game sees you exploring these meticulously crafted worlds alive with Japanese mythology and folklore. You will wander through ruined villages, mountain caves, and desolate cemeteries while battling yokai, undead, and demons. It's got a progression system. As you'll level, you'll unlock and enhance abilities, improve stats, and master an array of moves and combos. Other features include 2D action adventure gameplay with Metroidvania elements. There's dynamic enemy AI, making every encounter challenging and unique, and customizable combat through the in-game combo editor. Yeah, this thing looks pretty neat. Spirit of the Samurai launches on December 12th, coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Alien Rogue Incursion is a single-player action horror VR game that features a new original story within the Alien universe. According to the Steam page, this was designed by Alien fans for Alien fans. Its developer, Servios, has a history of making predominantly VR games that, for the most part, all have positive user reviews from what I've seen. Now they are looking to bring this experience and expertise into crafting a frightfully immersive Alien VR game. Some bullet points here include you'll explore the horror and challenge of fighting xenomorphs with audio, visuals, lighting, FX interactions, and haptics working together. It's an original narrative. You play as Zula Hendricks, a former colonial marine with a complicated past, on a dangerous mission to rescue a friend and former squad mate. Xenomorphs intelligently use the environment to find the best angle of attack and can appear from anywhere around you. This sounds horrifying in VR. No, thank you. Combat will be dynamic and can happen or not happen based on your actions. Spawning is reactive to player movements. If you make a lot of noise, you are calling in the xenomorphs, and you're going to have access to iconic weapons and gear like the motion tracker, the pulse rifle, and shotgun. Alien Rogue Incursion launches on December 19th, coming to PC, PlayStation VR 2, and Meta Quest. And then lastly, there is one beta that I wanted to let you know about. It's for Dragonkin the Banished, an upcoming hack and slash ARPG. They do have a beta running from December 19th to the 31st. This will be NDA'd, so do not expect any videos anywhere giving you impressions or gameplay reveals. But I wanted to let you know because it's a new ARPG that is actually launching in the first quarter of next year, so pretty darn soon. If you're interested on giving this an early look, you can do so this month. Registration can be found over on the Steam page under the recent events and announcements tab. And with that, we will wrap up this month's list. I will for sure be playing a lot of Path of Exile 2 this month. That is without question. Other than that, I definitely want to find the time for Indiana Jones, Kingmakers, Soul Reaver, and Pantheon. And then as always, if I have enough extra time, I'll try to see some of these other games as well. Let me know what you plan on checking out this list this month. If there's anything that wasn't on the list that I should know about, please let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, that is all for today. Thank you as always for watching. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.